All right, hey guys, welcome to the Alkalise to Realise podcast. I'm Gabby Zakara, and we're joined with a super special guest today. This is Mem. Hey Mem, you okay?
Thanks for having me on, sister. I really appreciate it, and I really look forward to building some ideas and connecting with you. I saw some of your videos, and
Oh, thanks.
I know this is definitely going to be a good conversation.
Definitely. For anyone who hasn't seen or doesn't know, Mem's got his own channel. It's called Conscious Minds TV. It's an awesome channel on YouTube for all things truth, syncretism, and wisdom. So make sure you check that out as well. He's a fellow student of Santos Bonacci, and when I first found out about you, I was really excited to connect because I felt like we had such a similar story on how we got into all of this. So yeah, thanks so much for joining us. And if you could start by sharing with the viewers really kind of how you ended up getting into truth and syncretism and the etymology of things, and yeah, just kind of explaining where your story began really.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's something I've always kind of done throughout life, but in terms of a more like deeper and seriously, it started like in 2013, and basically what happened was I was going through like a bit of a like rough time over here, so I went to Amsterdam for a holiday, but I actually went on my own because I just wanted to just like kind of get away. But I'd been like many times before, but like with other people, and I was never a smoker. I just used to like the vibe of the city, so I used to go there and whatnot. But then when I went on my own, I thought, right, I can't just walk around on my own all day and whatever. I need something to kind of help me like socialize with people. And like at that time, like there was a lot of information about how like cannabis was good for like treating a lot of illnesses like cancer and epilepsy, and I thought like it can't be that bad. So like, I went to a coffee shop and I just bought like a pre-rolled joint, and then obviously I had it, and then I really enjoyed the experience. I felt like it just brought out like a really positive side of me. I was talking to people, and like I really enjoyed my holiday.
Mm.
So then when I came back, I was like experimenting with it a bit more, and then like I don't know what happened. Something just went in my brain, and I started looking into like what people say conspiracy theories, like about the Rothschild, like all the usual stuff, like the Rothschilds and like the banking system and whatnot. And then I came across them videos of Zeitgeist and Kymata, and that was kind of like the first time I was introduced into kind of like astrotheology and how like the religions are all based on the stars and whatnot. So yeah, like that was like at the end of 2013. And then in 2014, I kind of I was like carrying on my studies, and I was like looking up people like, do you know who Graham Hancock is?
Loved him, yeah.
Yeah, so I used to look into like a lot of his work and whatever. And then um bearing in mind this time of my life was my Saturn return as well, which
Right.
is really, I think it's a really crucial thing to add in for people who know what astrology is and what a Saturn return means. So yeah, and then in 2014, I got made redundant from my job, and then I used to work in a hospital as like a technician, like fixing TV and phones. And then I got made redundant, and then I started a new job in care, like looking after people with like mental illness. And yeah, like just because I just lost a job, I kind of just grabbed at any job. Like it was a friend of mine, she just said to me, oh, I think you'll be really good at it and whatnot. So I started that job, and it was going all right, but obviously at the same time I'm still doing my research while I'm doing this job. So I'm finding out about like the pharmaceutical industry and what like medicine does to people and whatnot. And then I'm just continuing my like studies of ancient mysteries. And it was like in 2015, I was watching a Graham Hancock video, and he mentioned something called precession of the equinoxes. And I thought, what's that? Like, so I just typed it in YouTube, and the first video of that came up was a video of Santos, and it was called "Know Thyself Two," number 2. So I thought, like, let me just watch it. I watched this video, sister, and literally, it's like I was asleep and someone slapped me out of a dream. Like, that's how much it hit me. And like, he done the wheel and he was explaining all the and it was just like, it's like, oh my God, like I can't explain it in words, if that makes sense. It was just such a like defining point in like me understanding how the world works and whatnot. And then I'm doing this, I'm finding out more info, but then I'm at a job where I'm feeding, where every night I'm giving people pharmaceuticals and stuff. And then I felt like my morals weren't matching up with what I was doing. And obviously looking after like them type of people, they're like being around that kind of bad energy also started to affect me. So then one day I just kind of, something happened at work where one of the people was looking after run away. He escaped the house, and because I was on duty, if anything happened to him, I would have been kind of liable for it.
Right.
So then after that, I decided like to quit my job, and then like from like 2015 to 2019, I just went into like a hermit zone where I was just, all I was doing was studying, just looking into things. Like I just went for it. Like there's something inside me told me to do that. And then also, literally just after I quit my job, um, I was watching videos on about like how eating animals is bad, and if you eat animals, you'll be bitten or eaten by animals, like as a karma thing. And then one week after I quit my job, I was taking my dog for a walk, and he got into a fight with another dog, and I tried to separate it, and the other dog attacked me, and I got bitten on my arm here, I got bitten under here. So I went through like a really like painful experience of like it, and I thought to myself, wow, like I'm going through so much pain. I thought, imagine what pain all them animals go through every day, like when we're like just cutting them up and eating them. And this was like around maybe like end of August of like 2015. So like until the end of the year, like I was still like eating meat. But like at this time, I joined a group on Skype that Santos was doing like lessons on Skype, and you could join in. And so I was doing all that, meeting all these people, reading my chart, but I didn't have a clue about any of this then. And yeah, then on 2016, I decided to become vegan, and I've been vegan ever since. And yeah, and then yeah, I've just was just studying, and like I'm also into cooking. So like I was practicing at home. Like my aim was to like try and work in the vegan industry. And then yeah, that happened in 2019. I got my first job as a vegan prep chef, but I actually lost my job last Friday.
Oh no.
Yeah, due to the company going bankrupt because of what's going on. So yeah, just basically in between all of that, I'm just constantly studying, meeting new people. I do shows. I love reading, and yeah, that's pretty much like a short background. I could say more, but I don't want to like bore you like with just going into like my whole life, if that makes sense. But yeah, and also like I'm a big fan of music, so I write and record music, like hip hop music, but I don't like rap about like going to the club and all that. It's all about what I learn, and that's what's in my music. So yeah, that's a brief introduction
Yeah.
about me.
Yeah, I love that you like do the music thing too, because like I was saying, I feel like our stories are so similar. Well,
Yeah,
I first was like just really into ghosts. I used to see and hear ghosts a bit when I was younger, like very young. And I had like this point where I just got so scared this one time that I just shut it off and I never saw them again. But I always was so into ghosts and spirits, and I also believed in angels, but not in a creator. I just I don't know. I just thought that the Big Bang was real and all this, but I somehow believe ghosts exist, but don't believe there's a creator. Like, and angels exist, but no creator. Um, and then like I ended up getting into like weed myself at uni, and particularly as well shrooms. Like shrooms, like
wow.
got like a big key in my mind, and just like put this key in my mind and opened up my mind, and I was like, I don't know. It was just as if something had changed, something clicked. I don't know what it was. Um, and I was like, yeah, like just kind of learning about these things more and more, learning about near-death experiences, wanting to hear people's stories and stuff. They've come back from the dead, like what happened, reading books on like lives in between lives and stuff. And then I ended up meeting, I went vegan because my sister's vegan first. I went vegan and then met like some spiritual people through that, and then they put me onto Santos. And
Yeah.
and then yeah, like just been on this absolute like train going so quick. Like it was just like I've had a really quick time, because I'd say I woke up quite late. Everyone else was waking up in 2012. I was just literally just like wasting my life away like for ages since then. But yeah, like with the music as well, like it's so cool, and you're really into etymology of words, aren't you? So
Yeah, I am a lot.
yeah. What like why do you think it's important to know like the root of a word or the etymology of a word? Like is it because the root holds its like main dominant frequency, so it's good to know like the type of frequency that word has? Or like what would you say is what is a beneficial reason to know etymology and stuff?
Yeah, because like you said about the vibration, each words are sound at the end of the day,
Mm,
and different sounds create different frequencies or different vibrations.
mm,
And I don't know if you're aware of something called cymatics. I don't know if you've seen it, like where they put salt on a table and then they turn up like a sound and it creates different patterns. So obviously, if sound does that when we speak or create sound, it's obviously making a form of some sort. Whether we can see it or not doesn't matter. It's still like a vibration. It's still like a creation of some sort. So knowing what we're saying and knowing the vibration of a particular word, one, you can use it in its correct manner, and two, you just understand it. It brings you like, through words, like it's like, for example, I'll give you an example. I was having a debate with someone, not a debate, I kind of, on Facebook, I said that if you believe in God and you pray to God every day, but you wear a mask or have a vaccine, I said it's kind of like you're defeating the object of what you're doing,
mm,
because you obviously don't truly believe in that spirit or that more higher essence of yourself, because you're not using it.
mhm,
You're relying on men, or you're relying on things that are not natural, and through fear to kind of supposedly save you.
mhm,
And then we was talking about like chemotherapy, and I mentioned that how cannabis is much more effective than chemotherapy when it comes to cancer and many other illnesses as well. And they were kind of saying that oh yeah, but cannabis oil is not natural because you still have to get like, they were just trying to get technical, if that makes sense. But
mm,
I said the difference is you have alchemy and then you have chemistry. So if we look at them two words, chemistry is chemist try.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just telling you in the word that they're just trying things out on you.
Yeah.
Whereas alchemy is al, which is L, the
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Chemi is what it is, and my is M. Water, mother. It's more of a feminine kind of. It has more of a feminine vibration to it, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. And it, like I said, it's got the L. That's why they took the owl out of chemistry.
Right. Oh wow. Do you know as well what I noticed when you were just saying that is like a lot of pharmaceuticals are just mimicking what plants do. Like they all just
Exactly.
mimic. So it's again chemists trying to mimic the
Yeah,
alchemy, the plant.
exactly. And also, if you look at the words healthy and treatment,
Mm,
well, healthy is heal thy if you break it down into, if you break the word down into syllables,
mhm.
and treatment is only treating your mind,
Right.
treatment.
Yeah.
So do you get what I'm saying? There's differences, and like this is why understanding etymology can make you think, oh right. So like it's literally they are spells. Words are
Yeah.
spells.
Yeah.
Hence we spell out words or spelling. But it's just crazy when you really like look at words and like break them down. Like there's so much in there. Like obviously the most bait one is government,
Mm,
government.
mhm.
Like do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like there's so many out there. Like I can't think of any off the top of my head now. But
It's
like
one.
sorry.
There's one that's come to me.
Yeah.
It might be an obvious one as well, but you know, entertainment. So it enters into your mental energy and to tame or like to hold, like to
Yeah.
maintain or to hold. So it goes into your mind and basically holds your mental energy and like distracts you, which is
Exactly.
interesting as well.
Yeah, now you've mentioned that, you just reminded me of another one. Entrance, enter in a trance.
Oh right.
So there's so many. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, I don't like. Have I got any like notes I've put? I haven't. No, but like, yeah, like so. Once you understand like these words and the meaning of them, I feel like I don't know. It's just it brings a whole new light to the meaning and to life because
Mm,
then you know what it's really saying rather than if you're saying it but you don't know what
yeah.
it means. It's just like you're chatting air, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Like
There's one as well. People say bless you, don't they? But that could be saying be less you. Like so, it's not
exactly.
actually a positive thing to say to someone. But the way that the English language, and I don't know about other languages too, have been perverted. It's like we now say, "Oh, that's sick," like that's so wicked, or you know, that's so bad, and all these negative things. And people like think that I'm being overreactive when I say this kind of stuff, but just to be aware of what you're conditioning things to be like through the word
Yeah,
itself, it's so important. Because yeah, like rather than saying be less you when someone sneezes, you could say like bliss you and send them like blissful energy rather than be less and stuff.
yeah,
Um, and then you almost can see how reality nowadays has just been so twisted to make us all just kind of like speak out negative spells all the time without even realizing it.
yeah, definitely, sister. It's also another one that just comes to my mind is advertisement.
Mm.
Because like advert reminds me of the word like adversary. So it's like or adding or advertisement is just adding something to your mind that's not already there that you don't need.
Yeah.
Because it's like Russell Brand once said something, and it's always stuck with me. He's saying if there's something they're trying to advertise to you, it means you don't need it because you know what you need for your day to get through your day, but
Mm.
you don't need necessarily McDonald's or a beer or whatever they are advertising. That's just an extra thing to add on to you, basically. So that's another one. Like another,
Yeah.
it's yeah, like it's all in the words really. That's why and me knowing three languages as well, I can connect like so many. I can connect it in so many different ways and dots and
And
stuff like that. But yeah, it's just I've always been into words and language and things like that, and yeah, that's just kind of. But to be honest, like it only started to be get more in depth like when I started studying
hmm have you
and
got a
getting.
good Mercury placement then?
I actually haven't. I've got
No.
a bad Mercury placement. I've got it's conjunct with Uranus.
Right. Oh wow.
I've got I've got Mercury in Sagittarius.
Right.
But yeah, in the fifth house, which is but it's conjunct with Uranus. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like talking about words and stuff like, and obviously you write music and do you think like it's important then to just be so consciously aware again of your lyrics that you write? Because something I think I was telling you about in messages was that like when you listen to a song, especially if they're on the radio and it gets stuck in your head all day, that song's on repeat in your head. You're thinking that thought, you're singing that word, I'm lonely, whatever the song's saying. And I think, oh my gosh, like so many people are accidentally like saying these things, casting these spells into existence about how their life is when it's not even them. And the music industry's put a really like horrible, catchy melody that you just can't get rid of in your head to just make you, like in torture therapy. There must be a psychology behind repeating something again and again. It fully like programs your brain. And obviously,
Yeah,
music's in 440 hertz nowadays, which I think puts you in a frequency that allows it to be programmed as well.
yeah. That's so interesting you brought that up, sister, about the 440 and the 432 thing, because 440 is 8 and 8 is forever
Oh wow.
like going in the loop, whereas 432 is number 9. And
Right.
in the alphabet, I is the ninth letter. So I is like being balanced or being at one
Yes.
with yourself. So again, like you was talking about etymology, but when you like syncretize it with numbers and like numerology and gematria, that adds a whole other meaning to it as well. Like for example, you think of like the two letters that have the numerical value of 2, which is B, and a T, which is 20. So in numerology, that you reduce it to one number, so then that
Yeah.
becomes a 2. So with B, you got like both, bi, binary. It's all to do with like the number 2, and 2 you have twin, number 2. So like when you look at like the words and the numbers as well, they also connect.
Mhm. And I
So yeah,
know
there's
that
so, sorry, go ahead, sister.
no, I was going to say I know that different languages syncretize as well, but have different languages? It might be a stupid question. Have different languages been perverted and they say negative words that are meant to mean positive things as well? Because I don't really know any others other than.
That's a good question, you know. Like, I mean, I talk Turkish and Greek, but I haven't really thought about that in terms of that language because I don't really write it. Like, I only speak those languages. Whereas, obviously, because English is my first language,
Mm,
I write it and speak it, and I've grown up using it. It's like I can notice it more. But I mean, I'm trying to think. I can't think off the top of my head, but I'm sure. I mean, because with English, right, like there's kind of two. You've got English and you've got legalese. I don't know if you're aware of legalese.
mm. I don't know a
Yeah,
lot
so
about it, but I'm aware of what it is. Yeah.
yeah, so like legalese is English, but the word has a different meaning. So, for example, like the classic one is if a police stops you and says, "Do you understand me?"
Mm,
and you say, "Yeah, I understand you," it means that you have to stand under them. So you've
yeah.
given them the authority to you've given them the authority. But whereas we know, if you say, if I said to you, "Do you understand me?" all I'm saying is, "Do you get what I'm saying?"
Yeah. Yeah.
But like in what they've done in like maritime law and like in the legal system is they've took words and they've just like changed the meaning.
Mm-hmm.
So, like for example, uh, just say you're in your car and you're plodding along and you get pulled over by the police, and the police say to you, "Ah, you was driving at, I don't know, 50 miles an hour in a 30, for example." For someone who don't know etymology or the law would say, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry," but the game is if someone asks you a question, you've got to ask it, you've got to answer it with another question.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because it's like a game you have to play almost.
Is it
So
because
if
Jesus would answer the questions, or the king's the one that answers the questions, or something? And don't we officially, like, we're actually their boss because they work for us? So is that why it's like that? Yeah.
exactly, sister, you read my mind of where I was going with it, basically.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like, if they said to you like, "Oh, you was driving, for example, at 50 miles an hour," you say, "No, I'm not driving, I'm traveling."
Right.
Because the word driver or drive in is a commercial term. The only time you're driving is if, just say, you work for Parcel Force and you're delivering stuff and you're doing commercial business, then you're driving. But if you're just going to the shop, you're not driving, you're traveling.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, because if you look at the word driver, it's D river.
Right.
So they've used, it's all like maritime water kind of related language, like lanes, and you have an island in the middle of a road, for
Oh yeah,
example.
yeah,
Right? Do you get what I mean? Like they're using the whole water thing, but we don't live on water, we're on the land.
yeah.
So what they've done is they've used the laws of a ship and put them on the land, and they're ruling us as citizens. So we have a citizenship. This
Yeah.
goes all into, do you know about like the birth certificate and all that? I'm sure you
Yeah.
do. So yeah, like it goes into all that, but like yeah, so it's just no, it's just like it's just knowing. You know, they say knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
That is so true because it happened to me literally like 3 months ago. I was on the train and I wasn't wearing a mask, and the, the train's pulling up, and I've seen two policemen. I thought, oh, here we go. So, and they've literally walked on my carriage, but they were like behind me. So, and this was like in the middle of rush hour. So they've come on, they weren't facing me, and then one's turned round and he's gone to me, "Oh, do you have a mask?" I did have one in my bag, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
wear it. I just said, "No, sir, I don't have one, I'm exempt." And he went, "All right, no problem." And literally just turned round and got off on the next stop.
Yeah.
Like it was that easy.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even say to me, "Oh, what's your condition?" or literally, that's how easy it was. I said, "No, sir, I'm exempt." And like, I only knew that because I actually went on the UK Gov website, which says that you don't need an exemption card and you don't need a notice by law.
Yeah.
So basically, what that's saying is, if you're smart enough, or if you're exempt according to yourself, you don't need no proof to be exempt,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Yeah.
But it's just little things like this that we need as people to start taking advantage of because they're doing it to us. So and they're the ones that are supposed to be serving us. Like you said, they work for us. We don't work for them.
Yeah.
Do you
I've
get
seen,
what I'm saying?
yeah. I've seen as well, there's ways of actually, because people say you can't travel on a plane unless you've had a test and unless you've had the vaccine and stuff, but I've actually seen that you can. You just don't sign any documents before you go. So they pretend like you need to sign these documents, but they're not obligatory. So you
Yeah,
think you have to, you don't. Don't sign
exactly.
anything from the start. I mean, I'd look into it more because I've not really looked into it myself, but if you did need to travel, you're not trapped into you have to have the test and the vaccine and that's it. Like there's always ways around it. And I personally think because of our free will in the universe, the negative beings, or whatever you want to call them, that have had the control until now, they have to always give us this choice to not have to if we don't want to. Like, we always have
Yeah,
to have a free will. They have to play the game of the laws of the universe. Um, so it's always there. You've just got to look for it, really.
definitely, sister, because that's the way how they get away with bad karma, if that makes sense. It's like, for example, you might sign a contract and you might miss a really little bit of writing where it says something, and you think, yeah, but it didn't say this in my contract, and they will say, oh yes, it did. You didn't read it,
Mm-hmm.
or they will do subliminal things like through signs and symbols, like, and they'll say, yeah, we did tell you, but like you just weren't looking.
Yeah.
Like, for example, sister, I watched an old episode of, the He-Man, the cartoon He-Man,
Mm.
and there is one called the Star Child. That's the name of the episode. Oh my god! If you watch that episode, there is so many subliminals in that episode about paedophilia and about
Really.
harvesting children for their energy, and so many deep things. And I'm just like, oh my god, wow, they are really like mocking us. But
Mm-hmm.
it's just having the knowledge about it to kind of see it, if that makes sense. Whereas I was the same as everyone else before. I didn't know, like, it's just a cartoon, or it's just. But there's so many. It's everywhere. Like they're putting it like in, like you said in your video about the Hermes stuff. I watched that,
Oh
and
yes.
you mentioned
Yeah.
about how like it's all over the ambulances and stuff like that. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. Um, Something that you just made me think about, like with words and stuff, because like when we like label people or things or situations, the word or the energy actually conditions that situation to be that way as well. And I always think, I've thought this recently about us, like pointing and calling certain like leaders like pedos, basically because of what we know that they've been up to. But the more we cast that spell that they are, the more that demon of being a pedo will go to them and give them the same more inclination to do it. It's like it helps fuel the fire. So it's a hard one because you need to be aware of what they've been doing. Everyone does. But then, like, do you think then you need to almost stop calling them that and say they might have been, but now I'm going to let them change? Or like, do you think it's important that we stop kind of labeling them with the negativity that they have been labeled with already?
Do you know what, sister? That is such an excellent point you brought up, because I've actually thought exactly the same thing, and I'm guilty of doing stuff like that myself. Do you
Yeah.
get what I'm saying? So like, I'll be like, I'll go through stages where like, for example, because of this whole thing of what's going on, where I don't want to talk about it or whatever because I don't want to feed into it. But then there's days where I get really angry and frustrated, and I break my own. It's like you said, like, because it's being spoke about so much, it's like almost it's influencing me to speak about it, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
And like yesterday, I went on a bit of a rant on Facebook because I was just. It's weird. I, I've been so frustrated recently, and the way I see it, like, I might hurt a few people's feelings by putting up a status, but it's better than me taking it out on shouting at someone, or do you get what I mean? Or getting into an argument with one of my family members, or do you get what I'm saying? So I'd rather just let it out on a post on Facebook. Do you get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But although I'm still letting that energy out, it's not an excuse for me to do it, but I'd rather do it on there than do it to someone physically, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, no, I just think because we were talking about like meaning words, and words have got so much more power than people even give credit for. And
For
so
sure.
when we were talking about that, I was just thinking like it's one of those things where we almost need to start trying to build the world we want to see with our thoughts, our words, and our feelings, and try not to give that old world energy anymore. But I just think it's so important to still be aware of it because you can't like ignore it and pretend it doesn't happen, it does not
Exactly.
heal things or cure things. So you have to be balanced with it, but almost be balanced and say the positive and visualize what we want, as well as kind of like turfing up the crap that's there as well, maybe.
Yeah, it's like there's a quote that Santos always says from the Bible. It's like I think it's like the wisdom of the world is foolishness in the eyes of God.
Right.
So like, or it's like, or I think Jesus also said is that like you can be in this world but not of it,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. And that's
Yeah.
kind of how I see like our kind of group, or
Mhm.
like me and you, how we're still like, obviously we're in this material place and we're in this world, but like we're trying, like for most of our lives we've been seeking external things. So
Mhm.
we've been breathing out, whereas maybe in this part of our life we're breathing back in towards our source.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? And like that's kind of the analogy I would use, if that makes sense. So like we obviously we're still here. We've got to go to work and we've got to pay bills and stuff like that. But literally, it's just that that's the only thing I would say that I kind of use the real world for. Not
Mhm.
because I want to, just because. Well, have I got a choice? Yes, I have got a choice, and yes, I haven't to a degree. But like, I mean, the only way we could get out of this is to maybe kind of build a foundation and then move out of it, if that makes sense. Like with maybe saving up and then going to somewhere a bit more natural or a bit more not so much in the city. Do you get what I mean? But
Mm.
like, yes, this actually is interesting. Like, because this ties into astrology a bit.
Mm.
Because I don't know if you know, like, there's two different, like, you got sidereal and tropical astrology.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that is why, like, I kind of feel like we live two lives. Like, each person lives two lives. Like, for example, like, who I am with people is not necessarily how I feel like when I'm by myself or when you go deep within and like, because at the end of the day, I can know you or you can know me or you can know your mate, but truly the only people that really knows us is us,
Mm.
of what we feel and how we think and what sets us off or what pisses us off. Do you get what I'm saying? So like, and I feel this is due to like the way that like the heavens are kind of set up, whereas you've got the fixed tropical astrology and then you've got the sidereal one which moves. And I kind of think that these two systems kind of gives like humans that kind of bipolar kind of vibe, if that makes sense. Whereas internally we feel one way, but externally we kind of might act a different way.
Mm.
And I feel like externally is the tropical system and internally is the sidereal system. Because when I looked at my sidereal chart, it also made a lot of sense to me.
Right.
Because, like, for example, in tropical, I'm a Taurus moon, but in sidereal, I'm an Aries moon.
Oh, right. So it
But
changes that much between the two then?
yeah, it's a 23.5-degree difference,
Right.
basically. So depending on so if, so if you're born 23 degrees or past that, so if you're just like, what are you? Just say you're an Aquarius, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So if you was born like 23 degrees Aquarius and after, you will be an Aquarius in both systems.
Yeah.
Like me, I'm a Scorpio in sidereal. My sun is in Scorpio in both sidereal and tropical.
Mhm.
But my moon, one in tropical, it's Taurus, but in sidereal, it's Aries. And like, I feel that because inside me, sometimes I feel that I'm quite angry, but on the outside, I'm not. I'm not really like that.
Mm.
I am quite grounded and a bit more relaxed. I do have my moments, obviously, we all do, but like it's very rare that I'll explode, if that makes sense. But internally, like I do feel like very Aryan sometimes. Like I feel quite a bit like Martian and angry. Like so, like I definitely see like both of them playing out like in people, and maybe it's like trying to work out getting them two aligned that might help us as well. I don't know if anyone's ever thought about that before, but that's kind of how I've seen it recently, where I've been looking into sidereal a bit more.
Hmm. That's really interesting.
Because sidereal is based on the moon.
Okay, right. So it would make
Where
sense that that would be internal because it's like your emotion, more like,
exactly.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
also
sidereal is
like,
based on the moon. Oh, sorry, sister. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say the divine feminine, or the lower aspect of the divine feminine is known to be the ego as well, I think, and like the animal self, like, so it almost could be like as well your ego self and then your higher self or your soul self, or
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'd definitely look into it more. It sounds very interesting, that.
Yeah, um because in my tropical chart, I have like 5 planets in Sagittarius. Like, a lot of people think I'm Sagittarian,
Mm,
but when I then look at that chart in my sidereal, they're all in Scorpio.
right.
So like I am a Scorpio tropically, but inside as well, like I don't know, like Scorpio is a water sign. It's a very intense sign. Like it's very deep, and I feel that like when I'm alone or when I'm on my own. Do you get? I feel like I'm an empath, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. So like, yeah, like I can see the kind of battle that I think that's like the battle we all have to face as kind of humans. But like, I don't know if it's always been like that, because I heard that once that the elites kind of did some like mad experiment and made this procession thing happen, whereas before it might have not. Again, I don't know how true that is, but I don't know. But like, I just feel like that every person is kind of at war with themselves, like the good side and the bad side, and that's like the Old Testament and the New Testament in the Bible.
Right.
Because one is basically, because a lot of people say if you read the Old Testament, it's very like harsh and brutal, whereas the New Testament, where Jesus is a bit more like loving, like kind, and do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like the Old Testament is based on Saturn, whereas the New Testament is based on Jupiter
Right.
and the Sun. So then that's where you get the polarity of the physical world, basically.
Mm. It's interesting that you were saying about like the elites kind of like doing something to shift the procession or whatever, because um I watched a video that you did with Santos. It was really great, and it was about like Islam and syncretism between
Yeah,
that and stuff. And you were saying that it was Islam follows the lunar calendar for events and stuff.
that's
Well,
right.
there's loads of like, and I don't know if they're Christian. I don't know if they're Christian holidays, but say for example, you know, like Valentine's Day, yeah.
Yeah,
This Valentine's Day is in like, I think it's in Aquarius season, and Aquarius are not known to be really like in touch with their emotions and lovey-dovey and stuff. Like, shouldn't Valentine's Day be in Leo season, that's all about love and giving and stuff like that?
yeah.
And
Or
then,
in a or in a Venus sign like
yeah,
Taurus or Libra. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah, and then like
That's really interesting, actually. I never thought of that.
yeah, and so well, someone had mentioned it to me, but I wanted to bring it up because I thought the same thing. And there's another one that we did figure out, but like everyone seems to know it. It's like, obviously, you know that the new year actually starts in Aries season.
Yeah, yeah,
But we're doing our New Year's resolutions in Capricorn in like December, when the sun's dead and asleep and the energy is just dormant, and we're like, yeah, trying to plant all these new seeds of how we want the year to go, and completely missing spring and doing it in Aries season instead, when it's like the fire starter and you can plant all the seeds and then the spring energy like manifests into summer and stuff. And it's like all these key times in year where we could be manifesting really well and casting our spells, they've been shifted and no one's even realized or thought
Yeah.
about it. Like, it's been done so that we our spells are as weak as possible so that we can be controlled easier and stuff. But I do wonder then what the real calendar is, and could it be based on the lunar cycles?
Well, it's funny because there's a book that I was reading. It's called Monotheism,
Yeah.
and it's about how like Islam is based on the moon and all that. And like, like how I say like Christianity is based on the sun and Islam the moon. And the reason why, and I read in that book, the reason why Islam chose the moon and not the sun is because they see the moon as like the mother,
Mhm.
and they said that the sun comes from a mother, so it's more superior to
Right.
the sun. That's what it said in the book,
Yeah.
basically. Which I get that. I can see the thinking behind that. But like, oh, what was we saying before? Sorry, I lost my train
About
of
that,
thought.
like, these different celebrations have been moved into the wrong
Oh
time.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So, um, Capricorn, where the New Year is celebrated, is well, the 10th house and Capricorn is all about like career, politics, and it's an earth sign, so it's more of an earthly thing.
Mhm.
So it's based on doing more earthly things,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. It's a new year that's more aligned with the system,
Yes. Yes.
whereas Aries is fire, which is about spirituality.
Right.
So
Right.
it's more and like in your head, so it's based on like illumination,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. So that's why people make New Year's resolutions, because Capricorn is a sacrificial goat. So that's where you sacrifice your old deeds to
Right.
then climb the mountain like the goat to do new things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's just like a secular and a spiritual thing,
I
basically.
see.
So the Capricorn one is like more of a material one, and the Aries one is more of a spiritual one. That's how I see it.
Yeah. And as well, with the days of the week, I think that the actual first day was Sunday, really, wasn't it? And then,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. And then the Sabbath is meant to be,
Saturday.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when,
Saturdays should be the last day.
yeah. But when you were talking about, in the talk you did with Santos, just so that anyone who's listening today knows, the Islamic holidays were actually in perfect times, energy-wise, for what was going on celestially, wasn't it? Like, they
Yep,
lined up perfectly with what you were trying to do on that holiday and where the moon was, so it was completely in sync, wasn't it?
definitely. That's why I was so mind blown by it, because like the way that all started, like of me clocking all that was it happened on the I know the date because it was the day after my dog passed away.
Right.
And I was in so much. You know what I've noticed, sister? You know these kind of aha moments, or like these revelations, they always come to me when I'm in a really like dark place, or when I'm really like something's happened to me, if that makes sense. Or I'm not, because I guess like it's a time where you reflect, I guess. So you just go inside of yourself, and like something just clicks. But that day, the next day, when like my dog passed away, was in Islam. There's a celebration where they sacrifice lambs and they give it to like poor people and stuff, and that happens when the moon is in Capricorn,
Right.
ironically. But and then like it was the next day, and what people usually do is they kiss their elders' hands and all that bullshit. But like, but I'd stopped doing that anyway. It'd been a year or two, and then like I thought, let me just go and check where the moon is on this day. And then I looked at it and it was in Capricorn. I thought, all right, I'm going to go back and check every single date, 10 years back and 10 years forward. And then that's what got me on this little, like looking into like the Islam thing, because I thought Santos has done the whole Christianity, he's nailed that one. I thought no one's really like kind of like, there's not much about it. Like no one's really spoke about it. So that's when my investigation into that started. And obviously, because like I have a Turkish Cypriot background, like the religion that everyone follows back home is Islam. So obviously, growing up with those slight traditions, we've never really been a religious family, but obviously, like everyone here celebrates Christmas, we still celebrated, the traditional festivities. But once I've got into my more research mind, like in the last 6-7 years, I wanted to know why, like if there was any correlation astrologically, and 100% there is.
And go on.
Go ahead, sister.
No, you go for it.
I was just gonna say, and like when I like found all this stuff and did posts on Facebooks and videos, I thought I was gonna get like a really like negative reaction from like Muslim people, and like, but the amount of amazing feedback I've got from Muslims, they're like, oh brother, this is amazing, like I never knew this, and we was never taught this, and like you should like, and I was so like humbled by it, because I thought I was going to get a negative reaction from it. But like I've had so many like good people like messaging me saying this is amazing, like, and again, like I said in the video, I'm not doing it to debunk it, I'm doing it to I'm adding to it, like to show people what they're really celebrating.
Do you know, that's so interesting, and it's really nice because you can kind of just see that the way that society and people are moving, they want the truth. Like,
Yeah.
I think, like, I personally think, well, going back to when we were saying, do we need to just kind of move off grid and wait till this old system dies? I think that we're all actually going to make this mainstream, and that the system will become like a positive system that's beneficial to everyone, and it helps people rather than hinders people. I don't think that we should just get rid of system, because structure is positive in the right hands. I personally think that we'll get the right leaders in who actually have like our best interests at heart. And I think I can just see how the way it's going is it's gonna be like a world where we can still enjoy like going to the cinema or doing things we want to do. But rather than the system being set up against us, we're now all just open to the truth. We're all loving, and just like humanity evolved basically, and
Yeah,
their best
sure.
self, which would be really nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure, sister. And it's like, it's just like I don't mind rules. Obviously, like you said, you need some kind of structure because we're in the physical world. We're bound by structure ourselves. That's like the whole concept of Saturn in astrology.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? It's not necessarily you need some sort of discipline. Otherwise, you do anything. Like, do you get what I'm saying? You need boundaries and discipline and a structure and some sort of foundation. Because I've got a book about chakras actually, and they say that because like the root chakra is the red chakra, and they say like a lot of people kind of dismiss it, but whereas that's actually the most important one, because if you ain't got no foundation, then you can't really build upon anything. So like, yeah.
It's funny because like there is like a bit of a negative thing about the lower three chakras, because it's kind of like the lower animalistic like kind of nature. It's below the heart and stuff. And it's the same with the like planets that are not beneficent or whatever the word is.
Yeah, malefic and benefic.
Yeah, because and the same with demons and all sorts, like the darker side of things. People can just really just not even want to look at it and like see it as a negative and try and avoid it. But in reality, I think we need to just almost like be as comfortable as being in the dark as we are being in the light. But I mean, I talk from experience because I myself like don't really want to be in the darkness, and I don't want to like look at my dark side and think about it and stuff. And so I would like rather live in the higher chakras rather than the lower ones and all that. But then you just you need to learn self-acceptance, which I've struggled with when I'm denying those aspects of myself.
Yeah, for sure, sister. That is so true, because like, you know, hence the saying, like, the truth hurts. Like, it's such a true saying, like, because that's like, even like, you know, like sometimes, for example, like you might have a smoke, or and then you start thinking, and then like, and you get this like really or you just like have a realization that you've been doing something that's like not true or not right or whatever, and like you do feel shitty, but that's the whole point of it, to make you think, like to learn from it and move
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
You get what I mean? And like, it's funny what you said about the malefic and the benefic planets. It's true, because a lot of people like consider like Saturn as evil, but I see all the planets as good and evil, because they're all, yeah, everything's like got polarity in this world. Do you get what I'm saying? Because the sun can save you, but it can kill you as well. If you're in a really hot country and it's really hot and you're just out in the sun, it might kill you.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the other hand, if you don't have the sun, you don't have no plants to it. Do you get what I mean? So everything has that like yin and yang, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I
it's just
think,
like, I think it's all about maturity, and like you said, like just accepting both and trying to stay in the middle as much as you can.
it's the same with, I was thinking it the other day, the death card in tarot. People don't want to get the death card, but in reality, it could be the death of like an illness. Like it could be the death of an old habit you don't want anymore. It could be a positive thing. And so, yeah, anytime I kind of have these realizations, or someone tells me something about myself that I just wish that I wasn't like that, or like, you know, it's something I want to change, I have to try and say to myself now, like, I'm actually grateful to now know that, because I can actually change it now. Like otherwise I would have just carried on being that way and not been able to change
Exactly.
it. So like, as much
Exactly.
as you don't want to know that you were even like that, and you don't want to accept you've been like that, you have to almost be grateful that from now on you don't have to be anymore, because you know, and you can change it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like us, like when we used to eat meat, for example, and now we don't. Like, we had to go through that painful realization to get to this point. So like, that's the best example. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it's like, and I'm not saying that to judge anyone else. The way I see it, we're all like, everyone's on their own individual path. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, and the way I kind of see it is like, some of us are meant to get this stuff and some of us ain't. Like, the reason we're understanding it is because obviously we're ready for it. Do you get what I mean? Like, hence the saying, the teacher will appear when the student is ready. Like, so like, that's just the way I see it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I do try to be mature and be understanding as much as I can. But like you said, I'm not, like, we're only human, and I do have my days where I explode and have a sulk, and I guess we all do. Do you get what I'm saying? But yeah, it's just the only thing that I would say is a bit annoying sometimes. It's just frustration, like when when you can see something so clearly, and then you're trying to help or show someone that thing, but they can't see it. Like, like most people say, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's up to them. Just let them get on with it." But I don't know. Like still, like in some way that's true. But if I'm seeing like my family or my friends being taken advantage of or being mugged off, like I can't just sit there and not say anything. Do you get what I'm saying? And it's just like, a lot of people think my tantrums or my moans are at them, and it's not a personal thing. It's like a group thing. Like when I get angry or I have a rant on Facebook, I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it because I want to help people. Do you get what I'm saying? But then the other side of me says, yeah, but maybe they're not ready, and you just got to be patient. And do you get what I'm saying? So it's weird. It's like, I understand both sides, and like, but but at the same time, it can be frustrating.
it's like learning how best to deal with different people as well. Because I was thinking this the other day, if we're trying to make like a world where there's like kind of less like less demons being created all the time through people's negative energy, then even though I want to tell someone a truth, like telling them about say veganism, the importance of it, and how like animal cruelty is wrong and stuff, if I tell them in a way that I know is going to trigger a negative reaction,
Yep.
even though I'm telling them the truth, I'm actually going against what I'm really trying to do, which is create a world without demons, because they're going to create demons through how I've told them. So you
Yep.
almost have to know your audience, don't you, as well? It can be hard sometimes. You've got to almost like tailor it. And if someone's going to react that way, you can't be responsible for how people react. It's not you at all.
Yep.
But because we know better, we could almost try and go about it to prevent a worse reaction almost. And
Yep.
if they do react in their way, it's not our fault, but it's like trying to like be clever about it almost, isn't it?
Yeah, totally, sister. No, you're right. It's like, but what you're saying is, it's like, it's the method of how you say it. Like, if you say something to someone nicely, they're more. It's true, because I'll tell you what you just said is so spot on. Because before, like when I used to like, when people used to question me about a mask or whatever, I used to start getting all like defensive about it and like or whatever. But I've noticed since I just say it really like nicely and softly, like, "Oh, sorry, I'm exempt." Like you say it like that, they just say, "All right then." So that's like a perfect example of what you just brought up, because this happened to me and I know that's true. And like that's a really good point you brought up there, because obviously treat people how you want to be treated. Like,
yeah, some people do just need telling though.
Yeah, exactly.
But other people, you can be nicey or whatever, and get out of them what you need, or plant the seed in an aligned way rather than being against them with it, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, I have tried that, but it's usually when I get annoyed is once I've tried that method and then no one listens. That's when I then get a bit. The fire element in my chart comes out, because I've got a lot of fire in my chart.
Yeah.
Because I've got like five planets in Sagittarius, and I'm a Leo rising as well.
Right. I was going to ask, because I know like a fair bit about astrology, but I think you know as well. You know, like say if you've got your three main ones, your sun, your rising, and your moon. But in your chart, you can actually see a little graph of how many like water ones you got, how many air.
Yeah.
So if you've got predominantly like water, even if your main ones aren't water or whatever, if you've got predominantly fire, like what kind of characteristics and traits would someone have that, and would you be able to go through them for me? So if you've got mainly fire in your chart, you might be a bit like this. If you mainly got water,
So fire is like spirituality and mysticism and illumination.
Yeah.
Water is emotion. Air is like intellect and communication. And earth is like like material, groundedness, hard working.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? So like I'm being very simple. Like there's a lot more to that. But like me, I've only got one earth placement in my chart.
Right.
Which is my moon. And that makes a lot of sense to me, because and like obviously that's Taurus, which is like this area of the body, where because obviously astrology goes through the body as well.
Yeah.
So I do find myself being an emotional eater, which is something I've always kind of suffered with throughout my life. And also I like to talk a lot and do music and like, do you get what I mean? So I see that moon does really like, I do see a Taurus moon there, if that makes sense. But like most of like mine is like 50% no, I think it's like 40 or 50% fire, and then I've got 20 of water, 20 of air, and 10 of earth. So knowing this is what, again, like this is why I love astrology. It can help once you know your makeup. you know what you can work on. So personally, I need to work on my earth because I don't have much of it. So
Mhm.
that means being more grounded, and do you get what I'm saying? Whereas
Right.
maybe someone who has a predominant of another element and less of another one will need to work on that. So
Mhm.
this is what I love about astrology, rather than like, because a lot of people kind of think astrology is like, it is a part of it, like prediction and all this like divination kind of stuff, which it is a part of it, but I don't really use it for predictions. I like to use it to help people to show how they are in this area of life and where they've got a particular like where loads of energy is concentrated in a particular sign, which is a particular part of their body, and then you can look into that astrologically. So for example, if you had like a stellium in Aries, which is the head, it means like you'd be all up here, like all your energy would be up here. Or if you had like a stellium in Leo, it means all your energy is in your heart. So,
Right.
and then you can work it out that way as well. So there's so many different aspects to how you can use the chart for your own benefit. And I think learning astrology and reading people's charts has helped me understand them even more as well.
Mhm.
To think, oh, why is it, or like there's been so many times where I've read like one of my cousin's chart and I've seen like their moon placement and I'll just start laughing because it's so them. Like if someone's got a Leo moon or something, I think, oh my God, that is so true. Or and it just helps you understand. I think if we all knew each other's charts, we would be we would put up with each other a bit more
Mhm.
because we would know that this person is like this or has a lot of this energy or that energy, and it kind of it's like personally it's like it's made me a bit more patient with people by
Mhm.
understanding the way they are, if that makes sense.
Mm. You kind of get to, when once you know your chart, it's absolutely just knowing thyself, but you can kind of like blame all your shit on the energies of the planets rather than your own and stuff. Like, it's not me, it's because fucking Saturn's doing this and that. You know what I mean? Just like push all, oh right, it's okay then, it wasn't her, it was Saturn. But something I wanted to share with you, what I thought was really interesting is, I've been watching this woman who does like sound healing, and she was talking about there's a software where you can speak into this software, and then your voice has the different tones in, the different notes in the scale, and everyone is lacking in a note. Okay, everyone's lacking in a certain note, and so obviously you got the note from C, D, E, F, G, and then the notes in between, and so she was saying that like obviously the notes go around the wheel as well. I was wondering whether it could be related to the lacking cell salts in your astrology chart, and whether you're lacking in the note of where your cell salts should be. And I was thinking, I wonder then whether you could use that and listen to music in that key to heal. And I wondered whether, you know, when you hear a certain song and you just love it, you just want to play it on repeat. There's certain songs that you love and you don't know why, you just love them, that you feel it inside. I wonder whether they've got notes in that you're lacking in it. It actually feeds your soul or your energy in the
That
frequencies that you've been lacking in.
that is so interesting, sister, because as you was talking about notes, I'm thinking cell sorts, and then you just said it. So
Really?
yeah, it was. I was just gonna like before you mentioned it, when you stopped talking, I was gonna say yeah, that correlates with the three missing cell sorts of
Yeah.
all of us. Yeah, totally. I can totally like I totally see that, and also as well like for example, if you have like a weak placement of a planet, like it might lead you to want that energy. Like for example, my Mars is in Libra, so obviously Mars rules in Aries, so it's fallen in Libra.
Okay.
So, but I love spicy food and hot food. So I kind of think that's because I'm deficient in that energy.
Oh,
If
right.
that makes sense. So it's like that's where I'm craving that energy from, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like things like that, definitely. And also I was watching something the other day where someone said like you have I think there's 12 notes or 12 keys, and they were saying that like from Aries to Libra is the white keys, and then Scorpio, Sag, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces are the 5 black keys
Right.
because they have a bit more of a like a darker kind of sound, if that makes sense. I don't know if you've heard of that or.
I think I feel like I have heard someone say it before, but I thought because the notes go from like in a chronological order, I thought that it would wrap round the wheel in that same order.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I'm not sure
yeah.
because I can't really read music.
Hmm.
Like I'm not like I don't know like about notes and although I used to make music, like do music production and I could play it and like make melodies, but I wouldn't know what I'm pressing, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. I just could feel whether it sounded right or not. But
Hmm.
it's interesting you say that, sister, because I remember I actually done one sec, this is my notebook. Because I actually started doing like notes on all this, and I did I drew. Bear with me. Yeah, because I did it like I started doing about astrology. I don't know if you can
Oh
see that.
right, yeah.
Yeah, I started like writing all of like I was doing notes on it once.
Yeah, so
But
that your notes go in the order of how the notes do on the piano.
yeah, but yeah, I'm not too like sure. Like I've looked into astrology and music, but I haven't looked into it deeply. But I can just understand it like from a cymatic level. So like obviously it would make sense that each sign is a different sound because it creates a different frequency. So that's kind of like how I understand it. Like we was talking about cymatics earlier, so obviously maybe the Aries sound creates a particular vibe, or the Taurus sound, or etc. etc. Do you get what I mean? But
Yeah.
like personally, to me, astrology just is like understanding nature. That's the way I see it. Just
Hmm.
the cycle of nature, and it's like the signs are mental, whereas I see the planets as more physical
Hmm.
because it relates with like the chakras, like the 7 colors of the rainbow, basically.
Hmm.
So, um, yeah, so it's just like Mercury is communication. So I communicate in a Sagittarian way because my Mercury is in Sagittarius.
Hmm.
Right? I almost see astrology as like mathematics. It is. It's like just adding things up and seeing what it creates, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, the word universe is meant to be like one verse, like one song,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
you can actually hear sounds coming from the stars and stuff, and like you can hear sounds coming from plants, and people can hear them through being like psychic, but you can actually attach like machines to things and hear the songs that they sing. And so
Wow.
everything is emitting its own musical frequency, even if it's too high for us to hear with our own ears.
Exactly.
And so the constellation of Leo will be emitting a song, so will the sun, so will everything else. And these different notes or songs that they're emitting will be the kind of like makeup that is the energy that will then kind of you can tap into, you can use it for healing, you can do whatever you want with it. And I think they could even be interconnected as well, but there are these main kind of dominant energy rays or rays of consciousness or whatever it is. And then there's
For
just
sure.
loads of sub rays, I reckon, as well.
For sure. It's so interesting, sister. Like I found that since I've like looked into my chart and understand astrology, like it has changed me because it's like I've kind of put my the energies that I'm good at into practice, whereas before I didn't know.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Whereas like back in like before I started all this, I was quite a shy and a bit of a like not reclusive, but I was just a bit like I was a bit it's like I didn't have the confidence to do things.
Hmm.
But then like once I like started, like I used cannabis and I started researching and I was finding out more about who I truly am inside, like it brought this new spark to my life that I didn't have before, where
Hmm.
from being a shy kind of person, I'm all of a sudden writing lyrics and going on radio and being filmed. Like, do you get what I mean? Whereas before, I would have shit myself to do something like that. But but then because I've become who I am, that's where I see my Leo rising come out. Because Leo is a very kind of look at me type of sign. Not to be, not in a bad way, but that's just the way they are. It's just
Hmm.
because it's the sun. It's like they're very noticeable. Do you get
Yeah,
what I mean? So, and it's like I try to use them kind of things in a positive way because if the universe has given me that, then I should use it like for my benefit. Do you get what I mean? So
definitely.
yeah,
Awesome. So I think we might have been on for about like an hour and a half. So it would be so cool to get you on again and do this again because I'm sure we've got so much that we could
yeah,
still
for
go
sure,
through.
sister. And you have to come on my channel, and I'll have to speak to you and ask you some questions as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do that for
Yeah, that'll
sure.
be so cool. Like just to kind of get a bit more of your story rather than hearing me blabber on all day.
No, honestly, you've shared so many amazing things. Like some of the stuff you're coming out with and the words and everything. It's so interesting. And I'd love to. We should try and suss out what the true calendar is, and maybe it is based on like the lunar things and stuff. But like, yeah, so much more to go through. So, Martin,
Definitely.
thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it because I love connecting with like-minded people because at the end of the day, we're inspiring each other. It's just positive energy. Do you get what I mean? And like for me, like with what I'm going through at the moment, this is definitely something that I've needed, if that makes sense. So I really appreciate you reaching out to me, and thanks to our friend Lee as well for connecting us. I love that guy. He's such a beautiful person, if that makes sense. He's connected me and helped me with so many different things. So
Mhm.
thank you, Lee, as well.
Yeah, and thanks so much to our Alkalise Real Life family for checking out this video and for all your support. You'll find Mem's link down below. So what's your YouTube again? Conscious Minds
Yeah,
TV, is it?
yeah, it's Conscious Minds TV, and also yeah, I'm on Facebook under my normal name, and I'm also on Instagram, which is MEMDVG. So that's MEMDVG all in one. Like on there, I post like mainly my stuff to do with like my vegan cooking and like I do a lot of like nature trips. I like going to different forests and taking pictures of trees and finding mushrooms and stuff like that. So that's like I've got some astrological stuff on there and my music stuff. It's a bit of everything really, but yeah, I mean, but the main place where all my work is on my YouTube channel, which is Conscious Minds TV.
Awesome. All right. Well, yeah, thanks so much for coming on, and I'll catch you soon then.
Thank you, sister.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.